Hey cats, it's Ed Nylon Plate Bud here. Today I have a longer run review for you of the Saucony Endorphin SPEED 3. Finally we had a bit of rain and I took the shoe out. Does it work out better in some wet conditions? Let's find out. Thanks for tuning in guys, always appreciated. If you're yet to do so, hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications. It really helps the channel out too if you give this video a thumbs up like and also share it with your running buddies. Dankeschön. Today I laced up the official shoe of the Blue Man Group, the Endorphin SPEED 3 here in this amazing Ukraine colorway. A longer run effort, 10 miles, 16.1 kilometers. Some easy running and some reps thrown in for good measure. It was a real mixed bag today. Those reps were roughly 1 kilometer at 10k pace. I had a couple of minutes of recovery in between around the local trading estate located on the west of Yeovil town. It's a really nice 1 kilometer loop there. Not too many things to distract you or get in your way. And the trading estate's super quiet at that time of day. It's quiet as a grave. At that time of the morning for the early part of the run I actually needed the headlamp. Once the sun came up I was treated to some beautiful sunrise sort of pink orange hues in the sky. I had to get up early because I needed to be back in time for when my son got up. My wife's had some sort of illness recently, so I've been having to look after my son. It was the only time I was going to get out today. Had to be then. Finished off the run with about 2.5 miles of fartlek speed play to get me home before even Beast had awoken. 7 minutes 37 per mile today, average pace, so that's about 4 minutes 44 per kilometre. Not a huge amount of elevation, especially on those reps. It was nice and flat. I think most of the elevation was probably getting down to my typical run area. I was really loving the 17-degree temperatures today. I couldn't quite believe how warm it was, though we were treated to some beautiful showers there, nice and cold. It was perfect really for running. Aside from the 19-mile-an-hour winds from the south-southwest. I could have done without those perhaps, but you can't really change the wind, can you? It did make it a little bit more testing than it could have been, I suppose, on those loops. So using the Endorphin SPEED 3 today for that longer run, I have modified this shoe very slightly. Let me explain. You will notice the changed insoles in this one. These are from my Tempo Next Percent, so they're like crushed up ZoomX insoles. I think that was the first shoe to use a crushed up ZoomX insole. The ones that come with the Speed 3 are really thin. They don't really do much for the shoe. Don't really give it any additional step-in feel or anything like that. So I think it's a bit of an upgrade. If you've got a pair of those lying around, chuck them into your Endorphin SPEED 3s and improve the shoe. I think adding in those crushed up ZoomX insoles gives you a slightly more Endorphin Pro 3 feel. Those shoes do have a very similar insole within them. So if you want to turn your Endorphin SPEED 3 into like a 3.5, then there you go, you know what to do. Upper-wise, I did have to stop at one point to actually re-tighten the laces. The ones you get here in the Speed 3 are quite elastic, they're quite stretchy, and I felt that at some point I really wasn't getting that same lockdown that I had right at the start of the run. You'd think it would go the other way really, as your foot expands when you're running for a longer distance, but it doesn't really work out like that with this shoe for some reason. So I may look to switch out the laces here, perhaps to some yellow ones to complement the little yellow hits on the shoe. See if I can find some that are a little bit less elastic and stretchy. I think that'll be a bit of a bonus. If you want to get the full experience in that sort of little extra push from the nylon plate in the Speed 3, you want a good connection with the footbed and the midsole. And at one point I wasn't getting that, so I just retightened and we were good to go. I think the upper's a little more plush here than the Endorphin SPEED 2. I'm saying plush in the sense that it feels like a well cleaned and maintained travel lodge. I do go with a runner's knot with these shoes. It does seem to give me a much better sort of lockdown, and there's enough tongue here that you don't get any sort of pressure points there on top of the foot. So some more customizations to come on this shoe. I will update you with my progress on those in due course. Midsole now. Gotta say, midsole wise, the shoe felt absolutely fantastic today. A variety of paces on today's run, anywhere between about 8 minutes 15 per mile up through to my 10k pace was something like 6 minutes 40 per mile. It felt especially good on that fartlek section towards the end of the run, where I was just adjusting the speed, looking at something in the distance and running towards it at a faster pace, and then once I got there just recovering for a little while. It felt absolute magic on that. I think that, for me, is why the Speed series is so well regarded amongst runners. It's a very well regarded shoe. I think it just makes running fun. It makes it enjoyable, though it's still got a nice performance feel to it. It's not like a race shoe as such, but it's somewhere towards that, away from being a daily shoe. Not that you can't use it on a daily basis. I think it's so enjoyable that you'd probably want to. I certainly feel the foam on the Endorphin Speed 3 and the Pro 3 this year is that little bit softer. There's a little bit more squash to it. It feels a little bit more airy and brittle, perhaps. A lot of people have mentioned in the past they found the Speed 1 and 2 and the Pro 1 and 2 perhaps a little bit more rigid, a little bit dense perhaps. I never really found that, but this one is on another level. Feels nice and compressive. It certainly feels very consistent across the left and right shoe. Feels like you've got a pair, and that isn't always the case these days. It's very forgiving as well in terms of perceived effort and recovery. I think they've got a perfect weight to performance ratio here in the Speed 3 this time around. Feels like a shoe you can use on a daily basis, but if you want to turn up the pace and do some faster running, some tempo stuff, threshold, yeah, it will do it. No problem at all. It takes whatever you throw it in and it just fires it back at you. In a nice way, of course. A very polite sort of way. It will facilitate some faster furrows, and in terms of midsole, is absolutely spot on today. Could have continued running had I not had other responsibilities that I had to get down to. I could have just carried on for miles and miles. It was joyous. Now, part of the reason I selected this shoe today was that I needed to give it a really good test on some wet roads. There was a reasonable amount of rain out there. We had showers pretty much the whole run. Now, that was not the forte of the Speed 1 and 2. I felt those shoes were really quite poor, in fact, on wet, slippery roads. I am happy to inform you that that is not the case in the Speed 3. There were some quite tight bends and curves on those loops that I was running, and there wasn't really a point where I ever felt that I was going to topple over or slide. I think Saucony have nailed it with the new pattern and positioning of the rubber in the Speed 3. I used to find in the Speed 1 and 2 that I unconsciously put the handbrake on sometimes because I was worried that I was going to slip. Certainly as I approached some corners I was really quite conscious of that, but I think this new layout worked much better today. Just feels like you're gripping the floor now, and that wasn't what I had before. Either way, the outsole rubber, comprised of that Saucony blend XT900 carbon rubber, is a big improvement. Pretty much all I wanted them to change actually from the Speed 1 and 2, though they've improved the foam as well, so I can have my cake and eat it. Overall, aside from a little bit of tongue slip and having to retighten the laces at one stage, I think I can probably get around that. I think is a big improvement in the Endorphin Speed line. More assured in wet conditions with better grip, a more squashy and energetic midsole feel, with the same light and carefree attitude that we had in the Endorphin Speed 1 and 2, minus that overly rigid feel that some people might have had. Though I have to say the Pro 3 has got all of those things with a slightly reduced upper. So with the modifications here, switching the insole out, I think I've made myself an Endorphin Speed Semi-Pro. I am possibly going to take off the paint from the midsole as well if I can, just so it's not quite so blue, because it is, you know, very, very blue, this one. Are you enjoying the Endorphin Speed 3? Is it an improvement in your eyes over the initial two versions? Let me know down in the comments. Musical interlude time. It was a sort of run today where you really want some great music in your ears. Fortunately, I did have that. I've really become quite obsessed with the song Motorhead by Motorhead. It's got everything I like about music. It's exciting. It's driving. The lyrics are completely nonsensical, but it doesn't matter. The guitars have got just enough dirt added to them to make them have some character. It's just frantic stuff. Lemmy does say something about a 5-day marathon or something. Maybe he means he's got to like Friday. He's made it through the week. It's like a marathon to him before he can have another JD and Coke and sit playing the quiz machine. It has that rock and roll feel that you don't really get in a lot of music these days. Some stuff feels a bit sanitized, I suppose. This song is anything but that though. There's inaccuracies all over the place, but that's what makes it good. So if you want to run some fast reps, get Motorhead on by Motorhead. Thanks for tuning in, people. It is always appreciated. Hit us up with a super thanks if you've got a particular question you want to ask me about any of the recent videos. It really does help out the channel. Hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications. Give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you